Do you still ask yourself, should I say fui, era, iba, estaba? You do know the difference between the past tenses, but when it's time to speak, you freeze. In this video, I will show you how native speakers use Spanish past tenses without overthinking. I want you to have a closer look into our minds when you use the tenses so you can also compare with the way you are translating these into Spanish and how you can actually start doing the same so that you can stop second guessing your tenses. And if you want guided practice, you can also access my free 3-day mini course where you can speak Spanish more naturally in the past. The link is down in the description. So let's get started. Vamos a comenzar. All right. So let's start with the way you think when using the past tense. And then let's be honest, your brain goes like this. All right. So is this a finished action? Was it like a recurring thing? What was the rule again? And then you will think in English. Okay. So in English, I would need I used to. So now I'm going to use imperfecto in Spanish. But wait, what was the verb for used to? Like estaba, estuve? That's estaba for sure, but who am I talking about? What's the conjugation? So it's the whole process of looking for the verb, conjugating it as well. I mean, come on, the conversation already moved on and you're still overthinking your past tenses, really. All right, now let's see how native speakers and people who actually use these tenses without overthinking think when choosing one tense or the other. We don't really choose. We just have to put ourselves in the different situations, because what you are saying is not ruled by tenses. You do have full control on the way you want to share and communicate your memory, the embarrassing moment that you want to tell to someone, anything really. So you really have to put yourself in this situation where you do have the actual decision. I mean, we know what we want to say, and grammar should follow that. We don't have to chase grammar and like tweaking these things to make them sound like the thing that we're trying to say, because at the end of the day, we will feel limited and our hands will be tied to rules only, and you will end up sounding like a textbook. So that's not what we want. We want to sound natural. We want to sound like actual human beings, right? So for example, let's say when I was a kid, I used to go to the park. We're not going to split this into the different sections and like grammar parts for you to being able to communicate that idea. You have to think of the actual memory, okay? So this is very important because you will notice some people are not going to follow the grammar rules when speaking Spanish. We will have different shades and different levels of prioritizing your events and descriptions. So it is very important for you to sense those ideas so that you can end up choosing the right one. And by the right one, I'm not talking about the one that will actually be like an academic Spanish class. No, the one that actually sounds natural. So native speakers would sense the memory itself. Okay, we're gonna feel the situation itself. Cuando era niño, iba al parque. You have to put yourself in a memory, and that is going to be very, very important for you to actually being able to measure progress, and also for you to not losing track mid-conversation, especially when you're in a group setting, which is something that a lot of people struggle with. When there's like more than one voice at the same time, this is over for them. So I don't want you to be in that situation. So let's keep practicing. I was cleaning the kitchen when the glass broke. Now, I don't want you to split this into two different sections and then think of the tenses you're going to use. No, I need you to sense the situation. We're talking about glass shattering. O sea, esto es algo fuerte. Esto es algo que tú necesitas enfatizar. Necesitamos un énfasis. We need to emphasize this. Is this still on? Sí, okay. So, cuando tú usas el imperfecto, tenemos un background, okay? Yo estaba limpiando. This is what I was doing. Yo estaba limpiando. So I'm gonna think of this as the normal situation that you're in. It's just like for the daily, nothing extraordinary about this. In my case, at least, I don't break many glasses. Maybe in a year I'll break like 1 or 2. So we're gonna be focusing in the whole scene being interrupted. Estaba limpiando cuando el vaso se rompió. Escena e interrupción. Vamos a ver más ejemplos para comparar estas dos maneras de pensar. La manera de pensar de un estudiante versus una persona que habla y usa correctamente y naturalmente los dos tiempos de pasado en español. Ok, el ejemplo 1 es de una rutina de la infancia, like a childhood routine, let's say. So a student struggling with these tenses would say, I used to go to the park. Okay, so yo fui, no, iba, like going in the past, and they will start to overthink it. But someone who sounds like a native speaker would prioritize the type of scene that you have. All right, so is this a memory? Is this an embarrassing moment? Is this, they're gonna break it down into the sense of the story itself. So I would say directly, cuando era niño, iba al parque con mis primos. O sea, suena como una memoria. Bien, vamos al ejemplo número 2, que este es para un evento repentino, a sudden event. Ok, un estudiante podrá decir que estaba caminando y escuché un ruido. O si le escuchaba un ruido. Hold on. They will wonder, like, I was walking, yeah, for sure, imperfecto. But then noise is like in the background, right? But here is when you have to really tell, okay, so is this interrupting my situation? Is this like the main thing that I want to share? So it is very important that you can prioritize what you're saying and also what you're listening from other people saying. Because you will notice sometimes they will specify or talk about events. Events, like a birthday or a wedding, let's say. And you would be expecting them to only use the simple past, but turns out they switch to imperfecto. So you really have to figure out if what they're trying to say is part of like the background part, or is this something that's interrupting the situation. Muy importante. Like I said, you will have a ton of examples in the free mini course that you can start right after this video ends. Ejemplo número 3, a bad date, okay? Una cita mala. Ok, un estudiante. Ayer tenía una cita. No, maybe tuve. Is it an event? Like, is this context? Or, all right, a native speaker is focused on the terrible date that they had. All right, so listen to what I'm about to say. Tuve una cita. I had a date with someone, and it was terrible. Estuvo terrible. Like, they're pretty much telling you the story step by step and really making it sound like a big deal by going for the simple past, okay? They're not going for imperfecto. Ayer tenía una cita could be good, but it's a different intention. Ayer tuve una cita horrible, fue muy mala, la persona hablaba de su ex. Fíjate, esto suena como contexto, como parte de tu background, ¿no? Justamente, hablaba, o sea, probablemente they're gonna list more things that they didn't like about this. But if the worst thing that happened during the day was the fact that they were talking about their ex the whole time, they could switch to the simple past. Como, tuve una cita, la persona habló todo el tiempo sobre su ex, entonces es posible tener situaciones donde you can switch to other tenses if you want to make it sound more like a big deal by making it sound like an actual event, okay? I don't want you to feel lost when someone starts to not following the rules or the expectations you had for one tense or the other. And of course, this is built with lots of practice. So, all right, let's go to the last example. Vamos al último ejemplo, que este es como a sweet memory, una memoria, un recuerdo bonito, ¿no? Okay, so a student would say, I used to eat ice cream with my grandma. Yo comí o comía. I used to. This sounds like a memory. I would go for imperfecto by default. It used to be this way. This was going on. Straightforward. Es muy directo. La intención que tú tienes es muy, muy directa, ¿ok? Entonces yo diría, de niño comía helado con mi abuela todos los domingos, como rutina de pasado, ¿ok? Y como un recuerdo bonito. So finally, can you tell the difference between a student who struggles with these tenses and someone who sounds like a native speaker? The student focuses on the rule, but the native speaker is focusing on the actual story. At the end of the day, that's what we're gonna share. We're gonna share stories. So that is very important. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed with these two tenses, because at the end of the day, there are tools. There are tools you're using to share your experiences, your memories, and that shouldn't be frustrating. I feel like the main problem you should have with this is the conjugation part. Because for some people that would take longer for them to get to getting used to the endings. So that is something that is easy to fit with a good routine and lots of practice. But then the use cases, there's a lot of people who find really hard to detach their thinking from what they learned in a textbook for grammar, comparing it to how people out there in the real world will use these two tenses. If this helped you, then the free 3-day mini course will be a game changer for your Spanish and for comparing these two tenses and adding these to your conversations. So your next step is go to the free 3-day mini course. You can start right now and you will notice improvements in just 3 days. Muchas gracias por ver el video. Nos vemos muy pronto. Adiós.